Hey friends, Christy here with Little Roots Ranch, and today I am in the greenhouse. I was snacking on some cherry tomatoes and some strawberries, and it's middle of summer and life is going really well. Today's video is all about seeds to start in August for the fall, winter, and spring garden, which I'll get into a little bit more in just a moment. Excuse me, I've got like tomato skin on my throat. A good problem to have, I guess. Anywho, so if you've been kind of following this series, you know that in loose rules of thumb, June is planted for the fall garden and July is planted for the winter garden, with some overlap, of course. And then we get to July. And well, July is kind of a wild card. And I drug my feet just a teeny bit in filming this video because the thing about July is that July has the ability to be a second spring here for the Pacific Northwest. Those of you who have been here for quite a while or familiar with like the weather trends and stuff, you likely remember 3 years ago, June would be filled with rain. I know it's hard to believe now, but we had January, and every single June, I'm always like, what happened to January? I used to always complain about January, but that's here nor there. Now I miss the rain. And then July would be pretty warm. Well, warm by Pacific Northwest standards. If you're watching this from another state, it's hard to explain our mild summers. And then August would kind of flip-flop in between being a second spring and then also being a continuance of hot summers. And then weather-wise, 2 years ago, we started getting these heat waves, which were unknown to us previously for the most part. And they were terrible. I hate them. The animals hate them. I'm sure you hate them. But they would kind of come in between July and August. And so I was kind of waiting to see through the first half of August kind of what the weather was going to do. And so that way I can make my plan, and then also gives you time to kind of wait it out a little bit and think about your specific microclimate and kind of what's going on, and also how your garden's doing in coming up with a plan that works. Also, sorry, this is a carrot flower, by the way, if you're wondering what they look like. And so it's hitting my knee. And so every time I move, it goes crazy. And so I tend to move a lot because I get all excited. So if you see this going crazy in the bottom of the screen, I apologize. But anyways, so the reason that August planting can be for fall and winter and spring is that it depends on what you're going to be planting, and also what the weather is like in August and September for that fact. I remember last year I think it was September, we had an 80-degree, or no, October, maybe it was September. We had an 80-degree day, and I was so confused. I was like, this is not our normal weather. But anyways, so let's take two crops, for instance, spinach and cabbage. So if I were to plant spinach today, it's likely that I will be able to enjoy the baby leaves in the fall, the more mature leaves in the winter. But also remember, the plants stop growing like when we enter the Persephone phase, where it's less than 10 hours of light a day. If you didn't know that, that's important to know. Your plants don't really grow when we have less than 10 hours of light. And so the same crop I have available to me in the winter, I will also have in the spring. But then also the second our temperatures warm up, those plants just explode. And so that's kind of, spinach is of course quick growing and really hardy, and cut and come again, or multi-use or whatever. And so I would be able to enjoy it in the 3 different seasons. However, cabbage is not the same. So if I plant a cabbage plant today, it's not going to speed up and be ready in the fall. That's just not happening, unfortunately. And it really won't have the time, barring a crazy weather year, to get ready by the winter. And so what it looks like in the winter, it's going to look like in the early spring. Remember, there just isn't growth. Every plant just holds tight and waits. This is also where they start thinking about bolting or going to seed and stuff. And some things that's great, and some things that's not. And so right in the spring, when it starts to warm up just a teeny bit and the days start getting a teeny bit longer, then bam, you've got cabbage. And that's how some people have, like farms or farm stands or whatever, have brassicas, cabbage, whatever, ready in the early spring. And you're like, how'd they get that done? Well, they planted it in August, which sounds really crazy because of how long it takes, but that's just the process in going through the winter. And of course, it presumes that it survives the winter and things like that. So I came up with 2 lists, and they absolutely can be overlapped. I kind of went back and forth on thinking of how to like create these lists. But it really depends kind of on your microclimate and what the August weather is doing this year. And so it's kind of things that you want to plant by kind of mid-August, and then things you can plant all throughout August. And again, it doesn't make too much of a difference, especially with how much our weather has been changing. But I feel like we're on the way of getting back. Like this year, I don't think, fingers crossed, I don't think we're going to have a big heat wave. I know next week's supposed to get pretty warm, but not like 113. It'll be like mid 80s, high 80s, which again, if you're watching this from another state, don't make fun of us. That's hot for us, or at least for me. So anyways, I'll get to the list of things you can start. And just remember that with these crops, when you plant them, you don't have the ability to do the math. Like if your seed says DTM, which is days to maturity, if it says 30 or 90 or whatever, you can't mark that on a calendar. The shoulder season inevitably always instantly adds at least 2 weeks, but also depending on the weather, if we do have a heat wave and it's too hot and the seeds hang tight, then even if we planted seeds today, it's like we planted them in September, and vice versa. If it's too cold, which we don't really have that problem, or whatever it may be, or it's a busy time, you're on vacation, you're not watering as much. Like there's so many factors that can affect the plant's growth. And so anything you plant this month is going to kind of keep an eye on it. And when it's ready, then it's ready. Some things obviously are quicker, like radishes, spinach, lettuce, those are different things, but let's get to that list. Okay. So again, you can overlap these, and especially if you're more north of me, more south, probably aren't closer to the coast, but or more mountainous regions where it's a little bit cooler, like there is some wiggle room. These aren't like hard dates, but these are things that generally you want to plant by mid-August if we're having a traditional summer, which I understand is out the window now, but traditional summer. Okay. So mid-August, it's your last call, absolute last call for pole beans. So I would get those in as soon as possible. It's still a little iffy, honestly, just being honest. But if it's warm summer, warm fall, like it was last year, you'll be okay. If it's a cold fall, they may not get to full maturity. You can also do beets and carrots and cilantro. Cilantro, you do want to wait. If we have a heat wave like right on the horizon, like if you're watching this in future years or rewatching it down the road, cilantro does love cool weather. I know that's counterintuitive because it goes into salsas, but it does. So on any of these, if you're just right up on a heat wave, it's best to just wait, and then kale and overwintering onions. Now I'll give you a caveat on overwintering onions. I did, as many of you saw, I did an experiment last year where in August, I planted seeds both inside the greenhouse and outside the greenhouse, 4 different varieties. They grew beautifully. They looked amazing. I was so excited. I really thought I was onto something, and there was a few of you who are like, a majority of mine went to flower. Like, I'm interested in seeing how yours do. And I was thinking that, I was like, oh, I hope mine do fine. Well, unfortunately, the majority of mine also went to flower. So I've always historically started seeds in December for onions, but I was trying to get ahead and be less hands-on and let them grow in the environment and develop root systems and yada, yada, yada. But it didn't necessarily work for me. So I think back to December planting, it is for me. But if you want to try it, I would say go ahead. But for me, they read the 2 seasons because they're biannual, right? And they read it and they went to seed right away. And I was a bummed little critty cat. Anyways, and so now I'm going to talk about the seeds that you can plant in August. And this is all of August. And those are for beets. Beets get hard because unless Beets get really picky. So I always say for end of August, you plant beets for beet greens. If you are not eating beet greens, you are missing out. They're really amazing. But beets for beet greens, you might get a beet, you might not, but you'll definitely get some beet greens. Cabbage, which we used in our example earlier, that's going to carry over to the spring and pop as soon as you start getting some warmer weather. And then there's also like lettuce and pak choi, parsley, radishes, spinach, Swiss chard, tot soy, and turnips. So you're noticing kind of a theme, which is mostly like your greens and root vegetables, and then there's a couple brassicas in there. I mean, obviously everyone knows we're not starting tomatoes or any warm loving crops or anything like that. And we're also really getting towards the end of the season. As when I make the video for next month, September, it's realistically only going to be greens and then stuff that soon we'll be getting into garlic. But pretty much the list kind of pares down from here. There are some differences between August and September because August generally will have warmer soil temperatures and warmer evenings than September. And so like spinach will do better planted in September versus August. But nonetheless, it's still worth trying and still worth going for. And especially if you've got a hole in your garden, fill it up because you never know. Like I said, that's my disclaimer, I guess, for this video is that the weather can always change and you don't know. And don't blame yourself. And especially, I know I say this all the time, if you have a crop loss, don't beat yourself up for it, at all. As a farmer and whose friends are mostly all farmers, all of us, every single one has multiple crop losses that, every single year that just happens, whether it's seed, environment, forgetting to water, whatever it is, it just happens sometimes. But I hope that this list was helpful, and I hope that your summer garden is going really awesome, and I'm excited to hear about the things that you plant in August. If you plant things that are different than what I've listed, please drop those down below so we can all learn from each other. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching. If you wouldn't mind liking the video, that helps me. And have a great day. Happy gardening. Bye.